and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about my journey so far on YouTube. I've been with YouTube now for 8 years and I've had some ups and downs in that time, and I wanted to share my journey with you on what I've done so far. So what I've done is I've actually made a list of questions just because I did actually try and script this a little bit and it wasn't working for me, so I thought I'll ask myself some questions and then I can answer from the heart, and hopefully it will come across a little bit better than scripted. So we'll see. So this could be quite a long one, so I recommend that you grab a cup of tea or coffee. I've got my cup of tea at hand. Apparently that's the main thing to do these days on YouTube. And I'm going to go through my list of questions and I'll answer them as honestly as I can. So the first question I've got is, how did you get started on YouTube? So I initially started on YouTube, like I say, 8 years ago, and my first 2 videos were just simple time-lapse videos with a bit of music. There was no voiceovers or talking or anything like that. And the reason why I started those was it was on my bucket list. I wanted to create a video on YouTube like many other people, and I didn't know where to start, so I thought, well, the best thing to do is to just give it a go. Nobody's going to watch them, so I'm going to upload them and they're just for me. Little did I know that they did get something like 6,000 views, so that was a bit of a surprise. I didn't end up doing anything for about 2 years, and then I'd given up my job in the February and I'd started dabbling with resin, and I joined a few Facebook groups sharing what I'd been creating with resin. Now at the same time I was actually experimenting with resin, so I was trying to see if I could bend resin. So I was taking resin, I was pouring it onto a bit of plastic and I was letting it cure for a bit and then seeing if I could shape it when it was semi-cured. And so I shared those on some of the Facebook groups, and I had a lot of people asking me if I did tutorials and would I share what I'd been doing. So at that point I thought, okay, if I'm going to do a tutorial, I'm obviously going to have to do some talking on it, and I was a little bit nervous about it, and I thought, well, what do I know about resin? These are just experiments. I don't know the first thing about doing a tutorial, other than I'd done the couple of videos before, which again, like I say, I didn't do any talking on. So I thought, well, you know what, give it a go. And that's what I did. I uploaded my first video, which happened to be one of my bending resin videos, and it took off, which it was quite unexpected. That today is still my second best video, and it's amassed me over 500,000 views, so it's not bad for my first attempt properly on YouTube. So what equipment did I use to film it? So I started off filming with my iPad, and I was using the free software on the iMac, which was iMovie. I was editing the videos on iMovie. I didn't have the first clue on what I was doing, so I followed a few YouTube videos and then I managed to do a voiceover and upload that. So that's how I got started with YouTube. My next question is, what were the pros and cons of sharing your ideas on YouTube? Well, the first thing, the pros were obviously I was getting known for resin, and I was getting people commenting and wanting to know more about my techniques, what I was doing, what products I was using, how I was coming up with the ideas. So that was great. I was able to share that, and I started amassing some followers quite quickly sharing those ideas. The downside of it was that when I started the bending resin videos, lots of other people started sharing their videos on bending resin also. So my views plummeted quite dramatically. I was then not known for the bending resin. Other people were then getting known for their techniques with bending resin, which is fine. That's why I shared in the first place, but it did actually affect my bottom line. So another question I've got here was, how do you overcome imposter syndrome? So for me, because I didn't know a lot about resin and I didn't want to come across as being fake and trying to pretend that I was an expert in my field when I wasn't. Basically, I didn't know the first thing about resin other than me experimenting. So to overcome imposter syndrome, what I did was I actually came across as these were my experiments. I wasn't trying to say you need to do this, you need to do that to get the same results. I was just saying this is what I'm doing, and you know, if you follow a similar pattern of how long to cure, you know, then you get similar results. I did get lots of questions about, you know, how long do we wait to cure, how long, you know, what type of resin do you use, and what have you. And at the end of the day, because I was experimenting, my results were going to be different to other people. So the sharing of the techniques and everything was how I overcome that. And then by answering questions, I did actually become more knowledgeable. So I then discovered that other resins take longer to cure. So during the winter months, they take longer than during the summer. So during the summer, they would cure a lot quicker. So I would spend maybe 4 or 5 hours before I would then bend the resin, but in the winter it could be 6 to 8 hours before the resin would bend. So I learned a lot over the time, and then I did become known for the bending of the resin. So I overcame the imposter syndrome by just basically sharing what I did know, and then over time I did actually come to learn how to do that for myself and how to share it with others. So next question is, how long did it take to get monetized? So for me, I started with the YouTube in the June, and by the November I could monetize my channel, but I didn't do it straight away because I wasn't entirely sure whether I wanted to go down that road. I don't know why I thought that, but I didn't. So it was in the January that I decided to monetize, and at the time I was running a Patreon group. And so I was making probably about $200 a month on Patreon. When I got monetized on YouTube, my first payment was $300, and I thought, woohoo, you know, I'm making money now. So Patreon I found to be quite difficult to manage the two. So I let the Patreon go because I felt I wasn't ready yet. So how long were you uploading content? So I was uploading, my challenge to myself was to upload 1 video per week, and I did that pretty much for 2 years. So in the 2-year time frame, I'd uploaded 100 videos, so that allowed for a couple of weeks off for like Christmas and holidays and things like that. So I uploaded 100 videos. How did you build your audience outside of YouTube? So at the same time as starting the YouTube channel, I actually started a Facebook group. So where I was sharing my pieces on another global resin group, they were getting lost as they were, you know, so more people were posting because there was a lot of people that were posting a lot on there. And so those tutorials were getting lost. So I decided to start my own group. And that way, anybody that wanted to have answers or ask me questions on a particular technique, they could ask me within that group. So that group grew along at the same time, at the same pace as the YouTube channel. So I would upload the video, share it on my Facebook group, but I also would share it on my website blog also. And what I would do is I would direct the traffic from the Facebook, not to YouTube, but to my website. And so I'd have the video embedded on the website so that I was still getting the views via YouTube, but people would go into my website. So it started helping drive traffic to my website. So that way, later on down the track, when I started selling products and things, I already had an audience that were going to my website. I also, at the same time, started an email list. So whenever I was sharing a video, I would share it with my email list first. So they would get 24 to 48 hours viewing of that video before it went live on YouTube. So I managed to build an email list of around 3,000 people, which I've still got around that to this day. But yeah, so that's what I would do. I would share everything. So everything would go to the email list first, then it would go on the Facebook group, my blog, and then I would launch it on YouTube for everybody else. So those that were taking the time to sign up and join these groups, they were getting first views on my videos. Right, so what other income streams do you have? So as well as obviously having the YouTube AdSense, I also started sharing products via Amazon. So I had affiliate links with Amazon because I was getting a lot of people asking me what resin I was using, what products I was using to make the resin pieces. And although I'm in Australia, the resin couldn't be shipped outside of Australia, so I couldn't share. I would share a link for the resin here in Australia, but what I did do was I would go onto Amazon and I would find equivalent products that people in the US could get a hold of, because obviously shipping from Australia is quite expensive and most of my audience was in the US, so it made sense to have Amazon affiliate links so that people in the US could get hold of products and I would get a very small commission back from the products that they bought. I also started selling my own products, so there were certain things that I just couldn't find on Amazon, and so some of the products that I was using, I bought them in bulk, and then I was selling those via my website, and I was getting a lot of orders and sending a lot of things to the US, but because I was doing like small boxes, the shipping wasn't too expensive, but I started earning a little bit of money on the side there. I also imported the pigments from China, and then I put them into jars myself. I also mixed my own colors and I started selling those on the side also. Another thing I did was I actually wrote a book, so a beginner's guide to resin, and it started out with an ebook. Now I had lots of people, I had the same questions being asked time and time again. How do I get started on resin? What products do I need to use? What equipment do I need? And blah, blah, blah. So I decided to gather all the questions that were asked on a regular basis and I put it into an ebook. Now, when I did, a friend of mine suggested that I do a pre-sale before I'd even written the book, by the way. She said, why don't you do a pre-sale? And she said, and then you can see what interest there is in the ebook. So I put it out to my Facebook group and my email list, and I got over 200 orders in the first couple of days. So I had a month to write this ebook. So I sat down and got it out, and then I had it set up on my website so that on the 1st of May, I think it was, the book would be available to download. So everybody that had pre-ordered it, they would then be able to download it. Well, I had that many orders, it caused my website to crash. And so because my bandwidth wasn't big enough, so I had to up the bandwidth, and I was still having major headaches because people were not able to download the book. So I ended up personally emailing the book to everybody who had purchased it, and I just spent several days, about a week, just emailing constantly this book out to people. Then I had other people who then said to me, you know what, rather than an ebook, I don't like to read things on digital platforms, so would you do a paperback? So I went away, reformatted it, and then published it on Amazon. So to this day, that book has earned me, in both e-book and paperback version, has earned me over $50,000 Australian since its launch in 2019. Now it's tapered off a bit now because I don't promote it and I don't share it with anybody or anything like that. So, but at the time, that was a real good boost to my income. So while my YouTube AdSense was dwindling away, the book took over, and I was able to then earn an income that meant I could still share the videos with everybody. So what else did I do? I also printed my own set of oracle cards. So as an artist, I'd accumulated lots of art. My main, other than the resin, I do also draw. I draw birds and animals and things like that. So I'd always wanted to do my own set of oracle cards, because I have a whole heap of oracle cards and I wanted my own set. So it took me 4 years to create enough art to put this deck together. So that was another income stream for me. So I'm still selling those decks also. And I also started a membership for reasons best known to myself. So I started the membership in, I think it was 2020. So yes, I think it was 2 years into my YouTube journey, and I had, I think, 25 founding members initially. And so the membership was, it was a way for me to try and generate some more income, really, because over time, you know, the book sales did well in the beginning, but then they started tapering off a bit. The YouTube AdSense wasn't very good, and my friend suggested that I start a membership site. So I should have looked into it a lot more in depth, but I didn't. So I started the membership and I had 25 founding members. Now, over the course of 12 months, I think I made about $14,000, again, Australian. And while the membership I thought was going quite well, I was actually feeling conflicted, because before starting the membership, I was sharing content for free on YouTube. So I was, whatever I felt that you would want to see, I would then share with the community on YouTube. And with the membership, I was doing more in-depth videos. So I would share a small snippet on YouTube, and then it would be more in depth in the membership. But the problem I was having, I felt conflicted, because I didn't know what to share on YouTube and what to share in the membership, because I felt that I'm creating these videos, long content, long format videos, which is more in depth, but only 25 people were seeing them, you know, at any given time. So some people would leave, I'd get new people. And I was like, this is not why I started creating content. I started creating content because I wanted it to be seen by anybody who was interested in seeing it. So for me, it was like, well, what do I do now? So I decided to pull back from the membership. And so those that had paid, were paying monthly, I actually gave them access to the membership for the next 12 months for free, so that they could still see the content that they'd previously paid for. And it meant that I could then go back to creating longer format content for YouTube. At the same time, I actually stopped using resin so much, and resin was just one arm of the many things that I do. I do pet portraits for people, I do other artworks and things, I experiment with other mediums and things like that, and I felt that resin was boxing me in a little bit too much. But when I tried to share the other things on YouTube, I felt that they weren't getting the same kind of traction, and so I then became a little bit confused about what it was that I wanted to share and what you would possibly want me to share. So I was like, so in the end I didn't end up sharing anything, because I just thought, oh yeah, so I won't bother. I would think about doing things, I would film many things, but then I would never actually go to the trouble of uploading it. And so for me, it was like, okay, you know, what do I do now? So I did actually go back and think, well, maybe I could relaunch the membership, but only for a lower cost this time, for the price of a cup of coffee. And that way I would not feel that I had to share lots of content on there. I could then mix my time between the two. And also because of obviously the current climate and everything. I thought, well, you know, if someone just wants to buy me a cup of coffee to share content, I'd gladly do that. But unfortunately, not many people took me up on that, and so it was costing me more for the platform than I was actually earning. And at the same time, I found out that I had arthritis in my neck, and because I'd lost the use of my left arm, I couldn't lift it higher than this. So it's like looking down and trying to create any art of any description, I would end up in agony with my neck. So it also coincided with being in my 50s and going through that time of life, and so I ended up with major issues with my muscles and stuff. So I've had to start taking extra protein to help with that, and I've got the use of my arm and everything back. I still have to be careful with my neck, but for that reason I decided to close the membership down again. Now I do have a few people who are still paying their $7 a month, and they still get access to my previous content, but for 12 months I did nothing. I literally, well, not in the YouTube realm anyway, I didn't upload any content, I didn't do any art or anything. I just felt a little bit lost on what it was that I needed to be doing and what my life was all about, really. And so, like I say, for 12 months I didn't do a great deal. Then the start of this year, I actually started to think about what it was I wanted to do. So I have uploaded a couple of videos since, but I still have to be careful of my neck and everything. So I only really do art when I feel that I can do it. So what have I been doing for the last 12 months? Well, I started a printing business. Now my background is in the design and print industry. I was a graphic designer in a printers for a long time, did digital printing and what have you. So some of the art that I was already doing, I was then printing it onto products to sell locally. So that was keeping some income coming in. So I was printing so some prints on mugs, prints on anything I can get my hands on, basically. I was printing, and so this is what's kept the income coming in. So that's what I've been doing on the side. I was also, for the past 12 months, I've been experimenting with AI technology. So I've been using AI to create new designs. So because I've not been able to draw much, I've been actually playing around with AI and creating designs and to put onto products, but also utilizing the AI to expand my own art to make it work on other products. So for instance, I've got some vertical drawings of birds and animals, but obviously to put it on a mug it would have to be more of a landscape. So by utilizing AI, I was able to extend that image out so that I could wrap the image around the mug and then put a quote on one side and my art on the other. So that's what I've basically been doing for the last 12 months. Now, fast forward to today. The reason for this video is I've been talking with some friends and I've been helping them to start a YouTube channel. I've been helping them to make money on the side with their art. I've been doing a bit of printing for them and giving them some ideas on how they can make some money on the side. Excuse me. And so my friend actually said to me, so I was sharing some of this knowledge with her, and she actually said to me, why don't you share this with your people on your YouTube channel? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she goes, there's that imposter syndrome again. So she sat down with me and this is what she did. She wrote down a whole heap of these questions. So these where these questions come from. And she said, right, I just want you to answer the questions. So when she started asking me the questions, I just started reeling off everything I've done with since starting my YouTube channel. And then I just realized, I thought, I've done a lot of stuff with, you know, both on YouTube and outside of YouTube. And she said, there you go, your audience may want to know or do want to know how to do it themselves. So this is the direction now that these videos are going to be going down. I'm hoping to share what I've done to date, and hopefully it will give you some ideas to get started yourself. I'd like to point out as well, and you'll probably already realise this, but my videos were never anything spectacular. I didn't use the best cameras, I didn't use the best audio. Like I say, I'm just filming this on my iPhone just now. This is the camera I use for filming the resin. So as you can see, it's covered in resin and everything's just a little camcorder. It's actually not the best in that you can't attach a microphone to it, and now that I've had it for a few years, that when you're actually filming with it, you can hear a little bit of whirring in the background. But it was not a problem when I was doing the resin, because I was doing a voiceover. I was wearing a respirator, and doing a voiceover worked well for this kind of filming. Now, I'm not comfortable with sitting in front of the camera like this, but having created a lot of videos before, and I've done a couple where I'm sitting in front of the camera like this, that obviously I'm not the best now, but I'm hoping that if I share more videos like this, I'll get better over time. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm hoping to, like I say, share more videos like this. You know, whether you want to know, one, how I, wrote the book, how I came to putting that together, how I went about doing the Oracle deck and getting them printed, whether you want to know about my, starting a membership and the failures and things that I felt that I had, that perhaps that would then help you with deciding whether a membership is for you. I also have done some stuff on Patreon, where that's where I basically started when I started my YouTube, to make some extra money. And I had a massive fail there as well when I tried to connect the Patreon to my website, and it caused a catastrophic fatal error on my website, and I couldn't get it back, and I had to start it again twice. So in the end I didn't link it for that very reason. And also another failure I had with my email list. So I was currently when I started, I was with MailChimp, and you could have at the time 2,000 subscribers, followers, before you had to pay, and I was getting close to that 2,000 mark. So I decided to cull anybody that had unsubscribed, and I was gonna delete them from there to then free up some of the names. And I went on and found those that had unsubscribed, and I clicked, all to delete. Little did I know that I selected all of my whole email list. And I was sitting there and I could see the numbers disappearing of my email list. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I could see them disappearing right in front of my eyes. And I was like, so I contacted them, and they said, unfortunately, when you delete somebody, you cannot add them back again. They have to add themselves to that list. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So what I did was I went into my Facebook group and I told them what I'd done. And I said, if you were on my list and still want to receive content from me, can you please go back on and resubscribe yourself? So I gave them the link to go to resubscribe, and I had about 750 people who went back and resubscribed. So having the Facebook group was invaluable, as well as having an email list. So yeah, so that was my horror story with email. And then when I reached the 2,000 mark, I actually ended up moving it to another email list, content email provider, which is Flowdesk. So I can share my stories about being with Flowdesk and everything at another time. So I think I've taken up enough of your time today. I hope that I've not bored you too much, and if you've stayed to the very end, thank you very much for listening to my ramblings. I'm hoping that some of what I've shared today will help you to start your YouTube channel. Please don't be put off by some of the failings that I've done. At the end of the day, all you need to do is start. Just, go out, film your first video. It doesn't need to be perfect. Your audio doesn't need to be perfect. All you need to do is start, because the minute you start, you're already ahead of the game, because not many people will even start. As you look back, my first videos were horrendous. And I'm not saying that they're any better now, but you know, they have got better, I think, anyway. I hope you agree. So anyway, so thank you for hanging around, and I'm hoping to bring some more videos to you very soon. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, bye for now.